Imagine that every one of us have a deeper aspect that many refer to as the higher self. The concept might seem far-fetched or even overly magical to some people, but when we focus on the little things in life, we see recurring indications, as though something inside of us was trying to convey a significant message. It's about a sensitivity that we frequently ignore, not magic or prefabricated formulas. I want you to consider some of these indicators and how they can help us live more in tune with our true selves in this script. All of it starts during those hours when we appear to be totally detached from reality, yet we are actually having another kind of experience: dreams. Dreaming may initially appear to be nothing more than a mental tornado of arbitrary visions. However, have you ever noticed how some dreams can recur or cause such strong feelings that they leave a lasting impression on us when we wake up? I once dreamed for weeks of a road with tiny headlights that blink. It wasn't until I had a period of transition in my life, where I was trying to figure out which career path to go, that I grasped what it meant. The yearning to find light in the midst of uncertainty was somewhat reflected in the dream. I realized that my dreams were attempting to prepare me for the decisions I had to make once I began to pay attention. Perhaps the indication manifests for you as symbols, loved ones, or even vivid, eye-catching hues. It's important to pay attention to recurring themes in all situations because they can be signals from your higher self, giving you guidance or warning. In relation to communications, have you ever been in a conversation when everything flows so naturally that it seems as though you are reading minds? It occurs when you suddenly finish someone else's sentence and they respond by finishing yours. There seems to be an unseen tuning, a mirroring of concepts. I recall a co-worker with whom I used to write scripts. Without any prior planning, we came up with ideas at the same time and used nearly the same phrases. Initially, we ascribed this to the amount of time we spent together. As time went on, I came to understand that this kind of synchronicity occurs particularly when we are more open to receiving it. It can also serve as a reminder from the higher self that we are not alone, but rather part of something bigger. Maybe both are at the same understanding frequency at that precise instant, reaching a wisdom that is higher than our logical minds. Additionally, intuition is a potent conduit. It appears before we have any hard evidence, like a faint voice. You have an internal yes or no that doesn't have a clear rational reason. It could be the sense that it's worthwhile to accept an invitation, or conversely, the conviction that you shouldn't press for a seemingly promising opportunity, but that you should back off. I used to ignore that voice in my head all the time. I believed that my actions were irrational. I didn't start paying attention to my intuition until I had been harmed a few times. Trusting those emotions saved me from making decisions that, while rational, looked right, were not in line with my well-being in a number of instances. Occasionally, that sensation would obstinately resurface, and I came to the realization that I would regret not following it. I began to perceive intuition as a communication from a wider viewpoint, a bird's-eye view that perceives what our narrow eyes are unable to. The sudden appearance of persons in our life is another indication that might appear to be purely coincidental. You know, that chance meeting that transforms everything when you realize it? A stranger who gives you a helpful tip on the day you need it? A mentor who shows up during a turbulent time and provides clarity? Or simply a new acquaintance who introduces you to a special book? For me, it occurred when I met someone on a trip who talked candidly about self-awareness and life's purpose. I was a little lost at the time, and the talks I had with this individual were so profound that when I got back home, I drastically altered my routine and my outlook on the future. The cosmos occasionally sends people our way to serve as messengers of things we were already prepared to hear, but weren't quite sure where to look. It is also typical to observe the power of our thoughts in these circumstances. Thoughts can guide our behaviors and influence how we feel about the world, despite our tendency to view them as internal and innocuous. Have you ever noticed how, almost like a magnet, additional anxieties seem to surface when you become obsessed with one? On the contrary, things go more smoothly when we allow ourselves to be open to favorable viewpoints. Recurring thoughts are not random occurrences for people who believe in a higher self. Rather, they are frequently signals or invitations to notice elements of ourselves that are latent. If you're always considering altering for instance, in your professional sector, there may be a part of you that insists this change is necessary, and if you ignore it for too long, it might cause dissatisfaction. As we pay attention to our intuition and cherish these indications, we may eventually observe an odd phenomenon, a natural separation from others who were once in our social circle. Conversations cease to flow as they once did, and interests become incompatible, but it's not always about arguments or miscommunications. I used to put a lot of responsibility on myself for losing touch with old friends, but then I saw that everyone changes, and that it's okay for us to go in different directions. This could be seen as another sign that we are connecting with other energies and drawing in people who are going through comparable experiences. In the interim, we frequently make new friends and start talking about events that are more relevant to our present circumstances. This kind of rearrangement enables us to develop and achieve more harmony, despite the initial difficulty. At the same time, there are times when we feel as though our emotions are suddenly very strong. For no obvious reason, we can shift between intense despair and exhilaration. It's normal to believe that something is wrong with us, or that we have lost control when this occurs. On the other hand, these emotional swings may indicate significant internal changes. There have been times when I've cried over little things and felt quite exposed. I chose to examine the meaning behind those tears rather than criticize myself. At that point, I became aware of how my traumas and anxieties surfaced and changed. The higher self can more clearly manifest when we approach this difficult process with openness, which aids in our evolution. It is normal to want to be alone yourself in the face of so much energy. A need to withdraw at home, be silent for a weekend, or simply go for a long walk by yourself. We may mistake it for social sloth or loneliness at times, but these times of isolation frequently act as stepping stones to a closer understanding of who we really are. We can gaze inward and hear that small voice that is typically lost in the din of daily life when we remove ourselves from outside influences. After a lot of self-criticism, I realized that taking care of myself is a sign of self-awareness rather than selfishness, and the answers we seek ultimately come to light when we keep quiet. Meditation becomes a natural ally on this route. It doesn't have to be a structured meditation. It can be any activity that helps you focus for a short while. For instance, I prefer to concentrate on my breathing. Calmly inhaling and exhaling makes me more conscious of what's going on inside of me and makes the outside world less dominant. With time, I observed that my headaches, anxiety, and even shoulder stiffness subsided. Furthermore, it seemed as though I was creating room for something new to grow in the solitude, when imaginative ideas would appear almost without warning. Therefore, meditation is more than just a way to unwind. It's a channel that deepens our connection to the higher self and increases our awareness to the signals it delivers. Finally, a newfound excitement for life is often experienced once this communication stabilizes. We observe a higher flow of positive synchronicity, face problems with confidence, and wake up with more vitality. It's the sensation that you're doing what really needs to be done at the right time and in the right place. Although it won't always be simple, we have the inner assurance that this inner strength will support us no matter what. It could signify the formation of fresh concepts for personal endeavors, the bravery to launch your own business, or just the readiness to resume a long-forgotten pastime. When we give ourselves over to those inner urges, everything takes on color and significance. In actuality, every individual has a different experience with these indicators. Some will experience more intense intuition, others will have highly clear dreams, and yet others will meet people who show up at the right time. Developing the awareness to recognize these hints is crucial. The higher self is a manifestation of the deeper communication that life has with us all the time. Even if there isn't scientific evidence for an inner voice, subjective experience demonstrates that there are levels of perception that go beyond what logic can account for. I encourage you to foster these times of introspection and self-awareness if you felt that these remarks resonated with your personal journey. Spend some time examining your dreams, identifying when your intuition is more assertive, identifying the people who enter your life for a reason, and allowing yourself to be alone yourself when you sense that call. Every one of these everyday actions improves your relationship with your higher self and gives our cycles more purpose. Now, to ensure that the discussion continues, here, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel so that you may keep getting content that will motivate you on your journey of self-discovery. If you found this video useful, please like it and forward it to someone who could use similar insights. After all, the more we share, the more individuals will be able to discover their own potential and find answers. I appreciate your support thus far, and I hope to see you again soon on this path of growth.